So it's no secret that the DC movies over the past couple years have been met with some pretty mixed responses. Man of Steel was divisive, so was Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad was just a garbage fire of a movie. So I figured with Justice League coming up pretty soon, we should go through this DC extended universe and fix what the biggest issues are. And to me, the biggest issues with this franchise are issues of character and of universe. So I figured if a team of professional writers and creators funded by one of the biggest companies in the world can't get this universe right, then maybe a piece of shit broke-ass college kid can. That's me. I am that college kid. Hello. I'm going to go through each movie one by one and discuss a pretty brief overview of how I would change things. I'm going to try and stick to the main skeleton of the original movie as much as possible because I also want these to sort of serve as a kind of headcanon recap, like recapping the events but also recapping them in a way that makes them seem like they were better than they actually were. Okay, so I enjoyed Man of Steel when it first came out. I thought it was a really fun movie, and I thought it brought up some interesting questions about Superman and what it means to be a hero and stuff. And it wasn't until recently that I became an actual fan of Superman with DC Rebirth, and I realized how totally off the mark the movie is. The biggest change we have to make is to Clark as a character. Superman's greatest attribute is, ironically, his humanity. He's just some dorky-ass guy from Kansas who was raised by a pair of really good people and also just happens to be an alien with superpowers. It seems like Zack Snyder forgot this, and instead he made a movie about a bland hero man with no character whatsoever. So, to fix this, we strip the super away from the man. I know that sounds kinda crazy, but just hear me out for a little bit. So, for the first two acts of the movie, Clark Kent is just Clark Kent. He doesn't know how to fly, he doesn't have a cape, none of that. All he has is a pair of jeans and a blue t-shirt with a big red S on the front. We're kind of going the route of Smallville almost, but Smallville took 10 fucking years to do this. This will just be 2 hours, don't worry about it. So we established that Clark is just a guy looking for his place in the world, like everybody else is, honestly. And so through flashbacks, we learn that Martha is afraid of how the world's gonna see Clark, but Jonathan always expects him to be something bigger, something better. He taught him the value of truth and justice and equality, but Jonathan dies of a heart attack before Clark can realize that full potential. A tornado death for Jonathan saps away the real tragedy of Jonathan's death, that Clark couldn't do anything to save him. So Clark goes on a journey to soul search for a couple months. He does what he can to help people along the way, but he doesn't really know what he stands for just yet. Right now he's just like a figure when he really should be more. So this is where we get the oil rig scene for those people who only watch it for explosions and are bored with character development and stuff. So Clark eventually goes to the crashed ship. So he goes to the ship and he talks with Jor-El, but he doesn't get the suit yet because Jor-El doesn't really think that he's earned it. So Clark tries to fly, but he can't. He just, he can't lift off yet. He can only leap tall buildings in a single bound. What a fucking chump, am I right? So Lois tracks down Clark, and throughout her investigation, she comes across all the people that he helped in those couple months, and they call him like a guardian angel. He's like a savior. He's a messiah. Until she gets to Smallville, and she talks with Pete Ross, and he's like, wait, you mean Clark Kent? That loser down at Kent Farm? Why would you ever want to write a story about him? He's a nobody. So she eventually finds Clark, and she agrees not to publish the story. Maybe get a little, chemistry between the two of them. And so now Zod finally escapes the Phantom Zone, because we still did all that shit on Krypton at the beginning, but maybe just a little bit shorter. He broadcasts his message to Earth, and he demands that Kal-El surrenders. At the same time, he's studying humans, he's like learning their culture and their history and stuff. He's kind of pulling like an Ultron from Age of Ultron. So after studying them, he decides that it would be for the greater good to eliminate mankind. Clark sees the message, and he agrees to comply after some Jesus imagery, because we have to have Jesus imagery in a Superman movie. He meets up with the army and he goes onto Zod's ship with Lois. Zod explains the deets of the plan and Clark's like, wait, you can't kill these people, this is my home. Skulls, oh no. So they escape the ship and Zod starts his invasion. They take care of all the ships, and there are 3 terraformers now. There's one in Metropolis, one in the Indian Ocean, and then there's also one at the North Pole by where the fortress is. And that's the most important one because it's at the top of the world, and it's at the magnetic pole or something, I don't know. So Clark decides he wants to take care of the one at the North Pole while everybody else is dealing with Metropolis. So Clark gets there and he's just like struggling under the weight of the terraformer. It's just like beating down on him like microwave hallway style. And he leaps up and he tries to get to it, but it just keeps shoving him back down to Earth. And then meanwhile, Metropolis is just getting fucking ravaged. Perry and Jenny are stuck under the rubble. People are dying. It feels like there's like no hope whatsoever. And the army general, he turns to Lois and he's like, this place is done for. Your friend's not coming. And Lois turns to him and she says, yes, he will. And his name is Superman. Clark just launches off the ground, he smashes into the transformer, and he just keeps going up and up and away. That was a good joke. And Clark like slows down, he's hovering above the earth. So Metropolis is fine, it feels like the day's saved. So Clark decides to make one last stop before he goes back to help out. So he stops in the Fortress of Solitude, he opens up the pod at the end of the hall, and he's gonna put on the suit. Because now he's finally earned it. He's finally Superman. He finally represents hope. So it seems like the day's saved, and then Zod, with or Zod. So Superman and Zod fight across Metropolis. They destroy a huge chunk of the city. Buildings are falling over. Maybe Bruce Wayne is jumping in to try and help people. Who fucking knows? Maybe we'll deal with that in a sequel. So the fight ends with Clark being forced to snap Zod's neck, completely abandoning his alien heritage and in finally solidifying his place in the world. We cut to later. Clark and Lois are talking. He's like, he's like, Superman, really? It's a little self-indulgent, but we'll see if we can change it. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure it's stuck. Clark is like, I'm tired of hiding. I need to get a job that'll help me get to dangerous situations. Do you have any ideas? We cut to her introducing him at the Daily Planet, and he just like stumbles around like a total fucking loser, like full on Christopher Reeve. And people like roll their eyes and stuff. And then Perry's like, I hope he knows what he's doing. And we cut back to Superman at the fortress. We get that flight sequence, and we end the film believing that a man can fly. Alright, Batman v Superman, let's do this. If you thought Man of Steel messed up the characters, BVS took them and put them through a fucking meat grinder. Superman's depressing, Batman kills people, and Lex Luthor is basically the fucking Riddler. The only character that they got right is Wonder Woman, and she was only in 7 minutes. I think to really fix Batman v Superman, we have to make it not Batman v Superman. This really should have been a Man of Steel sequel. The movie should have been from Clark's point of view, with Batman as an antagonist and with Lex Luthor pulling the strings. This is Clark's movie, not a Batman movie. So I say we change the title. The movie starts with the Battle of Metropolis. We don't get a Batman origin. We've seen Martha and Thomas Wayne killed enough times, thank you very much. So Zod and Superman are duking it out, and the destruction destroys a Wayne Enterprise building. And that sparks the feud between Bruce and Superman. Now we jump 18 months later to the desert scene. KG Beast kills everybody around while Superman's busy saving Lois, and he burns the bodies to frame Superman. Superman's already really controversial with the destruction of Metropolis, and this just causes even more problems. With all the news coverage in this movie, instead of just showing us the coverage, we instead need to see Clark watching it, and we need to see him reacting to it and getting outraged by it. Clark learns more and more about the Bat Vigilante, and he wants to expose him in the Daily Planet. Clark pretends that it's about civil liberties and about brutality, but in reality he hates Batman because despite how brutal and immoral the Batman is, he faces no consequences. Meanwhile, Superman saves the world and he's the most controversial person on the planet, but Perry tells him to call off the story. So instead, Superman handles it. He goes to Gotham and we have that first confrontation with Batman. He tries to see through his mask, but it's lead-lined. Clark tells Batman to hang up the cowl and he flies off. Clark is then assigned to report on the gala Lex Luthor is throwing, celebrating his new joint venture to rebuild Metropolis with Wayne Enterprises. At the party, Clark and Bruce finally meet and they have that exchange, with Luthor pushing the conflict along. Lex offers Clark an exclusive interview and the two of them grow to sort of be like friends. During the gala, Bruce goes off and he hacks the data from Luthor, and he runs it to Diana and does that whole stuff. We're not changing anything with Diana because we all know she kept the movie afloat. Bruce gets the metahuman data, and he takes it back to the cave. We don't see what's on the drive until during the credits. We only see that picture of Diana from World War I with Steve Trevor and the crew. So Clark and Lex grow closer, and the whole time he's just planting seeds in Clark's head. He's like urging him to go after Batman. At the same time, since Bruce and Lex are working together, he's also planting those same seeds in Bruce's head, basically confirming all of Bruce's paranoias. So it all culminates when Clark decides to go to Gotham to investigate Batman despite what Perry said. He goes around talking to anybody that he can, and he hears stories about the Bat. About how he breaks legs, paralyzes thugs from the waist down. He doesn't kill people, but he might as well be. Clark goes back to his apartment, and as he walks in, he hears another heartbeat. He turns to see Batman, standing in a dark corner, like always. We learn that Batman tracked Clark's supersonic speeds and saw that they all converged here, and maybe there's a line where he's like, only one other thing can move that fast, and Barry Allen isn't also making daily trips to the Arctic. So they have a little standoff, and here we establish their differences and really reiterate why they hate each other. As Batman climbs out the window, Clark says to him, "You're getting a little paranoid in your old age, aren't you, Bruce?" Bruce scowls, and he drops down to the Batmobile before driving off. So up until this point, Lex has been doing his evil Lex Luthor thing. He's whispering in ears, he's pulling the strings of the conflict. So instead of getting permission from the Senator to access Zod's ship in the Kryptonite, he instead talks with the head scientist of Mercury Labs, the people studying the Kryptonians. And they don't give him permission to access any of it, obviously. So he says, "It looks like STAG Enterprises is responsible for 90% of your research funds." And then he signs a piece of paper. "Now I own STAG Enterprises. It'd be a shame if those donations just went away, wouldn't it?" And so he's given full reign of the Kryptonite, the ship, and most importantly, Zod's body. So Batman's driving back to the cave when he remembers something that Lex said to him. Something about a stone that can weaken a Kryptonian. He skids the car around and heads for LexCorp, where he steals a Kryptonite. This is our first real taste of Batman action, so we actually see him stealing it and we don't cut away. At the same time, we see that Lois and Martha are being kidnapped by Lex. Batman returns to Wayne Manor, where he sees smoke billowing out of the windows. Bruce, afraid to lose any more of his family, he rushes inside and the place is just filled with fire. He presses a combination into the wall and sprinklers go off, putting out the flames. We see Alfred bloody and unconscious in the middle of the hall. The camera pulls up to reveal Superman's symbol burned into the stone tiles. We get to Lois, who has that conversation with Lex, and then Superman shows up to save her. Lex explains that Martha is being held captive, and if he doesn't fight Batman, then they'll kill her. The bat signal switches on, and we see Batman, in his full mech armor, standing next to it, ready to take down Superman. So we get back to Alfred at the manor as he wakes up. He rushes to the cave to tell Bruce what really happened. It turns out Lex's men knocked Alfred out, torched the place, and framed Superman. He tries to contact Bruce, but when he gets to the Batcomputer, we learn that Lex hacked it using a virus that was in the metahuman data. So Lex has been spying on the Batcave the whole time. So now only Lex has access to Bruce's comms, and he also has a voice modulator to imitate Alfred. Clark tries to talk to Bruce and explain things, but he gets fed up and they end up fighting. All the while, Bruce is hearing a voice of what sounds like Alfred in his comms, urging him to kill Superman. Bruce eventually gets the upper hand, and he has Clark on the ground with a spear to his chest. Alfred's finally able to break the decryption, and he gets access to Bruce's comms again. Clark, scared for his life and his mom's safety, he cries out in agony, "My mom needs help. Please help my mom." And Bruce stops and he realizes that this alien who he thought was gonna enslave humanity is really just a regular guy from Kansas. A regular guy with a job and a mother. Bruce won't let a son lose his mother. Not again. Bruce tosses the spear away and he helps Clark up. They agree that Bruce is gonna save Martha while Clark confronts Lex at Zod's ship. Bruce fucking kicks ass and he saves Martha. He doesn't kill anybody, obviously. And then Clark confronts Lex. And Lex decides he's gonna go with his plan B. And he unleashes Doomsday. The Doomsday fight's really similar to what we got. Batman shows up, Wonder Woman fucking shows up, fucking yeah boy. And then Superman saves Lois from some falling rubble. And he takes the spear. He tells Lois that he loves her. And Superman sacrifices himself in order to kill Doomsday. Superman is dead. And the world mourns. Lex Luthor's captured, raving like a lunatic about some coming invasion. Bruce talks to Diana, saying that he didn't trust Superman soon enough, and it's his fault that he's dead. He won't make that same mistake again. There are other metahumans out there, and something's coming. The world needs to be ready. The world needs the Justice League. Holy shit, Suicide Squad. Oh my god. I don't even know where to start with this. This movie had the potential to be like DC's version of Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was just like destroyed by the studio, just totally ruined, and they turned it into a heaping pile of garbage that barely resembles a movie. Like, do you ever have one of those movies that it's so bad it makes you angry? So you remember how I said earlier that I was gonna try and sit close to the original movies? Yeah, no, not for Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad fails fundamentally on so many levels that the only way to fix this movie is to just totally remake it. The setting, the villain, the genre, just everything about it is just going to be completely reworked. So fuck it, let's just start, alright? So the movie starts off in this remote village over in Kahndaq, and the village is being raided by this group of masked men, and they're killing everybody that they see. We follow the shoes of their leader, and we don't see who it is as he walks through all the chaos and into this small hut, where we see that June Moon is being held captive. So we cut to Amanda Waller over in Argus, and she can't send in the military or else that would be an act of war. So instead she decides to send in this covert ops team of villains called Task Force X, otherwise known as the Suicide Squad. We introduce the team in a pretty similar way, just not edited by like a 4-year-old. We introduce them all one by one with, you know, some intros. It could be stylistic if that was what they want. With Harley's intro, we never actually see Joker's face. He's always just like in shadow or out of frame. Boomerang gets more of an intro, Katana does, Slipknot does, everybody does. In Deadshot's intro, we learned that he was set up by Joker actually, and that led to him being caught. This causes him to hate the Joker. So the team is sent in to rescue Moon. She's an Argus agent who was studying the weird mystical nature of the village, and then she got kidnapped by these terrorists. Flag and the squad show up to the village, and he wants to be quiet, you know, stay under the radar, but the team is just reckless. They go in guns blazing, and that leads to them getting captured. Flag gets pistol whipped in the back of the head, and as he falls unconscious, we get a glimpse of the man who's leading the terrorists. The Joker leans in close and he laughs right in Flag's face. Quick word about Joker's design. What the fuck? Jared Leto is a great actor and he could have been a really great Joker, but they ruined him with the design.
You ruined it. You ruined it and I'm leaving.
Okay, let's fix it, because that's what we're doing. We're fixing everything about this fucking movie. So let's take a look at that. It's a little bit of stamp tool, fix up that damage, give him a nice little suit, and wow, look at that, it's perfect now. Alright, anyway, back to the movie. From here on out, the movie's sort of like Temple of Doom with supervillains. The village has this like ancient source of magic that the Joker's searching for in order to get like eternal life or eternal power, sort of like he was in Arkham City. We learn that the village survived in the harsh deserts because the witches of the old times practiced some dark magic with the help of these weird, strange cubes that fell from the sky. And they called them mother boxes. So Joker discovers like a sliver of the mother box, and he doesn't know what it's going to do, so he stabs it into the face of his right-hand man, the guy with the tattoos that was played by Common. And his tattoos, they start moving and they come to life, and he serves as the muscle for the squad to fight. He creates the drones, I guess. So throughout the movie, Harley goes through a pretty significant arc. She sides with Joker, like immediately once she finds out that he's there. But then over the course of the movie, he abuses her and he treats her like shit, and she slowly starts to realize just how toxic the relationship is. And she abandons him by the final act. So in the climactic scene, when Joker finds the mother box, he kills June Moon. He shoots her right in the face because he doesn't need her anymore. He takes the mother box and it's warped and it's twisted by black magic, but he's stopped before he can absorb his power. The box gets destroyed, and then a wisp of black smoke swirls around the room before possessing the body of June. There's an explosion, and out of the dust, the Enchantress is born. She kills all of Joker's men and is about to kill the squad when Flag speaks to her and he calms her down. She then agrees to live in balance with June, setting up Enchantress to be the villain in the sequel. So Joker gets up and he tries to run, but Deadshot just knocks him to the ground and holds a gun to his head. Joker just taunts him. He's like, yeah, pull the trigger, you're not gonna do it, you're pathetic. He doesn't actually think he's gonna do it, but he does. As Deadshot pulls the trigger, a black shadow sweeps over him, knocking the gun to the side, saving Joker's life. Deadshot looks up to see Batman standing over him. Batman had been tracking Joker the whole time, and he would have taken care of it with no casualties, but the squad got in the way. He punches Joker in the face, knocks him out, and he cuffs him. So everything seems fine, when then out of nowhere El Diablo's head just explodes. And Amanda Waller steps in from the shadows, holding her tablet, and she's ready to kill anybody who pisses her off. She tells everyone that they still work for her, and that their sentences are nowhere near up, and they either work for her or they die. And none of them can argue that, because they're
some kind of suicide squad.
I fucking love Wonder Woman. I think it's the best comic book movie we've had in years, and it's the first true superhero movie since the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. The film's amazing, it has everything that a good superhero movie should have, and it's just done incredibly. The No Man's Land sequence made me cry like a baby when I first saw it, and I still tear up whenever I think about it. And I'm not ashamed, I'm proud to cry because of Wonder Woman. The movie's fantastic, but that doesn't make it perfect. There are some flaws in it that I think are small enough to ignore, but it does suffer from a pretty weak villain in the final act, and the final fight sequence is kind of boring. And I think to fix that would require one really serious change, one that would redefine the entire movie as we know it. Ares should not have a mustache. Alright, that's it guys, see ya. Thanks for watching. Alright, so all in all, I think the DC Extended Universe has had a lot of missteps, and that's led to DC having a pretty bad reputation. Justice League is about a 50-50 for me, but Aquaman's looking to be really, the franchise really can come back, and I think it can make more movies like Wonder Woman. Movies with great character, movies with pathos and ethos, and more importantly, movies that inspire people and inspire hope, because that's what a superhero should do.